Hello, Brenty. Episode 9. Welcome
Episode
back.
9.
And we've got a new member joining us, Brian, or Bracky, as we call him. He's going to be giving his valued opinion as well. And just like we always say, we're not pros, we're not affiliated with anything or anybody. We're just giving our opinions on all the good rappy and the shit rappy. But how's everybody?
Yeah.
How's everybody?
Yeah, we're fine. I think we're going to confuse the listeners a bit with 3 voices and no faces, but we're working on that. Just try and recognize the difference in our voices and know who's speaking at when.
You can just listen to the most manly one. You'll know it's me.
Okay then.
So yeah, we had we skipped the episode. I was up in Pretoria, so we couldn't record last weekend or on Sunday. So we're going to do a bit of a combined episode with the URC round 12 previews, review, and then the single round 12 game this weekend preview, and then obviously our Six Nations round 4 preview, and then some rugby news. But let's jump straight into it.
Good, let's go.
So I only watched 2 games. I watched the Bulls and the Stormers and the Sharks and the Lions. I was at Loftus, so I had to watch the Sharks-Lions game on my cell phone, and I didn't manage to watch any of the other games. But I did watch the highlights, and I've got some notes on them. So the first game that was played was Zebra 31 against the Dragons. They beat them 31-21. It was their 3rd win in a row after beating Edinburgh and Ulster. So well done to Zebra, a team that's literally on the downward spiral. While they're closing, they don't have money, because they were doing so bad historically. But well done.
Yeah, but they also it was it's not that it was the best competition. They didn't beat a top tier team, It was like 15 and 16 versus each other.
These Italian teams aren't doing too bad though. We saw Benetton coming away with a few big wins, also some big losses. So yeah, they definitely not up there yet. But kudos to them. It's not their main sport in their country. So well done to them for trying to stick it to the man and prove everyone they're not as shit as everyone says they are.
But they are shit though.
Well, if they're on their way out, at least they're going out with a fight, huh?
100%.
Then
the next.
In all fairness, they can't finish lower than they are. So they might as well just throw everything out there. And I mean, we discussed this in the previous thing. They've got good backing though,
Yeah, they do. Where are they on the table? Now that we talk about it, they are 15th on the table. At least they're not last, So well done. Munster and Edinburgh. Munster lost to Edinburgh. It's difficult to judge these games. Okay, Munster is probably losing has probably lost like 4 players because we know I don't like Leinster more. But Edinburgh is, they managed to get a win. They're losing. They've lost Kuman and they've lost Tuan van der Merwe, which is probably 2 of their most influential players. So well done for beating Munster. Munster are obviously without Conor Murray and Peter O'Mahony. But yeah, Edinburgh is now 7th on the log, so they're in the top 8, and Munster is now 5th on the log. Well done.
5th on the log. Yeah, but it was a closer matchup. I mean, again, it's top tier teams playing each other, and without their key players, they still did well though.
You know what I just realized? Team 2 to 6 all lost this weekend. So out of the eight top 8 teams, only 2 of them won. So well done.
Yeah, but then we also need to look at that in perspective, right?
Yeah.
From team 13 to team, probably I would say about 4, are still like there's only like 7 points difference between them on the log.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a dominant competition, and we're talking about Zebra. If Zebra has a fantastic rest of the season, they can still reach the top 8.
Doubtfully, but yeah, 100%. And we are nearing the business end of the competition. We're on round 12 now, which means we've only got 6 more rounds before we get to knockout stages. So every win is crucial, especially for those teams outside that top 8 bracket. So we'll get to some of them now.
No,
The
definitely.
next game, Glasgow Warriors, the previous URC winners, lost to Ospreys. Also both teams missing a lot of internationals. But yeah, well done to Ospreys. We spoke about it last episode, I think. Ospreys are very up and down. They get big wins and they also get big losses, and I think that's definitely a big win for them.
No, definitely. I mean, they moved up to 11th now, and that's the thing. If you look at it from position 8 on the log up until position 15 on the log, it's literally 4 points.
Yeah, and they were playing away, so well done to them.
Yeah, so no, I think it's going to be an interesting finish for especially for that 7th and 8th position to see who finishes up there.
Yeah, Ospreys are losing Jack Morgan, definitely one of the most influential players. Then Connacht got the win over Benetton, one of the teams that are also very up and down. Well done to Connacht. Both teams are outside of the top 8 bracket, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Connacht is 8th and Benetton 13. So definitely a needed win for Connacht. Ulster won, Scarlets scraped it through 30-28. Leinster beat Cardiff 42-24. Can someone just beat Leinster? Fuck, 12 games, 12 wins. Can someone just beat these guys? But we know Leinster, not taking jabs on anyone, but we know Leinster is a lot like Ireland. They play very, very well until, the quarterfinals or semi-finals in the URC case. So I'm sure...
We spoke about this, the danger of the Stormers when it comes to knockout rugby. So, I mean, if the Stormers are 8th, they're playing Leinster in Ireland.
Yeah.
And wow, wouldn't that be fantastic?
Yeah.
They pull a rabbit out the hat there and just like massacre Leinster, though.
Yeah. I actually want to pick your brain on something. I was watching a podcast and there was a bunch of New Zealand pundits, I don't know if it was it was a short from a podcast, and one of the pundits was saying that the Super Rugby teams will walk all over the Northern Hemisphere teams, like Leinster, Toulouse.
Yeah, it was Justin Marshall that said it. And
what do you think?
He's a legend. Look, he's a legend in the New Zealand setup. He was probably in his era, without a doubt, the best number 9.
Yeah.
But dude, you can't compare it. And I think in New Zealand, if they play probably from 9th to 15th, it will be a close game. But I honestly think Leinster will massacre any team in Super Rugby. I think Glasgow will massacre any team. I think the Bulls, the Sharks, Munster, and I just can't. No, I can't see that. I think it's a far-fetched theory. I mean, they're not even playing with their best players, and to make a statement like that is just ridiculous. I don't know if these the All Blacks pundits, and I've always had a lot of respect for them, and but sometimes I think they just say stuff. I think they put it on paper or anything. They just go and say whatever they want and expect people to believe it.
Yeah, well, if you look at it this way, I don't know. I think obviously there's a lot of talent or talentful. I haven't been watching the Rugby. I haven't been following it, as I've been following the URC, obviously. The South African teams, I'll probably get shot for saying this. I've been in the Super Rugby for how many years, and how many wins have we gotten out of that? Probably 2 or 3. If it's even that much. Whereas in the URC, there hasn't been a final in the URC that hasn't been in South Africa. We haven't won all of them. We've won the first one, and then we had the second one. The Stormers lost to Munster in Cape Town. The third one, I think it was the Bulls that lost to.
Yeah, I can't even recall. You see, the thing is, there's a lot
Glasgow
of
Warriors.
Yeah, there's a lot of rich history in the Super Rugby.
Yeah.
But I do think that they need to be realistic about it. And unfortunately, since the South African teams have left Super Rugby, it's become varsity cup rugby for me. I watched the match the other day, and to be brutally honest with you, I think the varsity teams that we have in South Africa, if you put them into the Super Rugby at the moment, probably half of them will probably finish in contention for the playoffs. In any case, I don't see Super Rugby as being the powerhouse it used to be. And we're gonna start seeing it when it comes to the Australian and All Black rugby.
100%.
Because it's Australia's rugby has already suffered, in my opinion, due to the fact that they're not playing the opposition that they used to play and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was a far-fetched comment to make. And I think it's much like us. He's a proud New Zealander. He's a proud All Black. He was a good player.
100%.
And he's saying what he's saying about his teams. And it's just like we're going to justify any South African team in the same scenario. I mean, back in the day before Super Rugby and everything, I was a lot younger then, but I still felt back then any South African team would have walked, any South African Currie Cup team would have walked over any other provincial team in the world, which is probably not the case. So it is a bit of brand loyalty from his side, and I can respect that, but it's far-fetched brand loyalty.
Yeah, you see, I think this is an argument that'll go on forever. I think the only way to settle this, instead of everyone being keyboard warriors about it, is set it up. Get the top Super Rugby team, whoever wins the Super Rugby, and play them against whoever wins the URC or whoever wins the top 14. I think Leinster, as much as we said that Leinster are not really knockout stages team, I think Leinster will give a lot of those Super Rugby teams a run for their money. Even Toulouse are, we know, even in the form that the Bordeaux Beagles are as well, with Damien Panau scoring, I think it was 6 tries against the Sharks during the Champions Cup, So I think there's a lot of good teams on either side, and I think those matchups will just be brilliant. It just has to be friendlies. It doesn't have to be part of any competition. But let's have the Super Rugby. The winner.
No, that's not going to work for me. I need something to bet on. So it needs to be an official competition. Take the top 2 teams out of Japan. Take the top 2 teams out of Super Rugby. The top 2 teams out of the top 14, and the top 2 teams out of the URC.
Make another competition.
Yeah, you make it a cross play out. So 1 versus 2 in Europe. So first team in URC versus the second team in the top 14, and then the other way around, and have the on the other side of the world have 1 in Japan versus 2 in Super Rugby, and 1 in Super Rugby versus 2 in Japan. Go to a semi-final scenario and see. If you've then got 2 Super Rugby teams that do play in the final, great stuff. Then I will retract my statement. But I honestly think that Justin Marshall, I don't know, maybe he's taken too many hits though.
You are onto something there, Timo. That's basically the Champions Cup, but just obviously a bit more extended, And I think that'll get the South African teams a lot more interested, because we know that the South African teams and the South African fans aren't really as invested in the Champions Cup as yet. We've seen it over and over. But I think that's something, playing their old rivals again, is something that'll definitely get them back on the bandwagon, So that's actually a very, very good idea that you've got there, So please, World Rugby, take note.
Take note and just do it.
The next game is the Bulls and the Stormers. I was at this game, horrid weather conditions, So this one will dive into a bit deeper than the others, because all of us watched that.
You mean the game where my team massacred
my second team, my guilty pleasure team
at Loftus swimming pool?
Yes. Well, Bracky, you are a Bull, so maybe you can give us some insight into this. I also like the Bulls a lot. They are, like I said, my guilty pleasure team. I am a Shark, but after this weekend, that's also very embarrassing to say. But Joe, what did you think of the game?
I almost want to ask you what game, because I don't feel like a lot of the players were actually present at that game. Anyway.
Yeah.
This might be an extremely controversial. I think you would maybe agree with me here that when I say that Willie should. I can't use the terms that I really want to say, but I don't think he needs. He's not cut out for the team anymore. He needs to go, dude. Yeah. He needs to go. The first 5 minutes of the game, he gets a penalty, and then the first 15 or so minutes, he gets a professional he gets a professional penalty against him when he goes off the field. Like, shouldn't that be a potential red flag for the actual coach?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, 100%. I think the Bulls are struggling with 10 a bit, with obviously, and we know Paulie is coming back, and we'll speak about that in depth
I'm
a bit
so
later.
excited about that.
Yeah, but I think after Johan Goosen's injury, but look, there's a few games that really looked very good as well. I like Villy, and I know that the two of you don't like him as much, but I like him. I think he's a brilliant playmaker, and I think he's got a head on him. He's a very, very smart player.
You see, the thing is, in the past, I loved Willie.
Yeah,
Like in the past, when Bulls were still, I'm saying this now, also controversial, but when the Bulls were still Bulls, like when they were still the Bulls,
yeah,
I really loved Willie, and I enjoy the plays he used to make. But nowadays, it feels like he's getting a bit withered when it
yeah.
comes to the type of plays. He's way more risky. It feels like he's all over the place on the field. When you see him, it's usually when he tries something extremely risky and then he gets a yellow card. So yeah, that's the only reason I really actually don't like him that much anymore.
Yeah, I had the privilege of being on Discord with Bracky during that game. Oh, and it was so fantastic. I've never heard anybody rage like that in a Bull game in a long time though. It was,
and I had a few doppies in as well.
oh, it was just so fantastic. He at one stage he was using fuck like a comma though. It was just fantastic for me, obviously. Look, but here's the thing. I have to agree, and audit conditions. The Stormers play in audit conditions a lot of the time.
Yeah, they adapted it much better.
So
Yeah.
I just feel that they use the opportunities better. But Villy needs to come, and this is the thing we've discussed in the past. Villy is either excruciating hot, or excessively cold, and I mean, and Villy needs to not be an Irish player, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You made a mistake. You were offside. You were off your feet. It was cynical.
He was lucky.
Yeah, he was lucky. He was lucky to get a yellow for that. And then to get up after that and go into that Irish mentality of arguing with the referee.
Yeah.
Just take your yellow cards. You know you were wrong.
Yeah.
You know you were there.
But Villy always does that. He always argues.
Yes,
he likes to be in the conflict. He loves it.
Yes, he's probably going to be, by the time he retires, he's probably going to be the most capped fullback that's ever played for the Springboks. He's probably going to end up being one of the most capped provincial players that's ever played the game, because considering he's spent a lot of years over at, I think it was London Irish, and or the Wasps. I just can't recall right now. And so provincially the guy's got experience, and I was sitting there and I was even going like, I had that like look on my face, when you've just done a diaper and your kid shits immediately after that. That's the look I had on my face, because I was just like, what happened how did he process that? At what point did that make logical sense to him? For somebody with his experience, somebody that needs to lead, I don't think he's doing that anymore. He's playing out of position, so I'll contribute. I'll give him, some credit for that. But in general, I really feel he's over the wall, and I just think the Bulls are fighting a losing battle in that regard. With Villy, especially with Villy. The rest of the Bulls team didn't look bad. I actually, in general, think that the biggest problem, and like Bracky mentions, Villy tries to do a lot of things. Okay, when you're at number 10, get your backline away. In my opinion, you've got probably one of the most dangerous back three in South African rugby. Yes, we've discussed that with Sebastian. The fullback that you've got, I just can't recall his name, but that's standing in for Villy. Devin Williams. That guy is lethal if there's gaps. And it's just like the ball never went past Villy.
I think, in my opinion, I think both teams were very unpolished. Both teams.
Yeah.
And I have to disagree. I think the Bulls' backline looked very bad. All of them. And you can't expect anything different in the conditions they're playing. So it's difficult to judge them. I think they are going to get a lot more settled when a player like Paulie comes back, or Johan Goosen. I know Johan Goosen gets a lot of hate. I actually like him as well. And Villy goes back to 15. Villy has bad games. This is definitely one of those. And he has a lot of good games. I think it was the last weekend we played so well. And I get what you're saying, but I feel like Villy's always been that guy. Even for the Springboks. He is one cap away from his 100th cap, and in all honesty, I actually hope he gets it, and I 100% think he will. I'm seeing with how many fixtures we are playing this year.
Yeah, but let's hope
Springboks.
it's against Georgia and not against, quality opposition
Italy.
like
Yeah.
Australia or the All Blacks,
Yeah.
because I think that Village just doesn't have it anymore to compete
There's
at
so
that
many-
level.
Yeah, there's so many good fullbacks at South Africa. It's got a good Apelele Fassi, we've got Damien Willems, Quayne Horn that's coming through. So I doubt that. I think Willie is obviously he is 35 years old, so he's definitely at the end of his term. But just he is a soldier and he's done a lot for Springbok rugby. So give him that 100th cap, even if it is against Georgia or Italy. But yeah, like we mentioned, I think Stormers adapted to weather much better. The Bulls made 12 handing errors and the Stormers only made 6. Ruan van Mark looked good for me. He scored a try. He came on in the 39th minute only. I think he came on for Marco van Staden. I know Marco van Staden is a loose forward and Ruan van Mark is a lock. But I think later on, Mpilo came on for Kobus Visa. It was a bit, but yeah, anyways, he looked good. Most successful carries. He scored a try, a hard work try from the Bulls. Evan Roos looked good, man of the match, deservedly. We spoke about it so many times before, Demo, on how good our number 8s look. And I saw that Dwayne Vermeulen actually listed his top guys for that 8 jersey in the 2025 season for the Springboks, and he mentioned Evan Roos, who's making it or getting back into that form that earned him a Springbok cap. Cameron Hanekom can obviously not be overlooked. The guy from the Lions, I forget his name, Frankie Horn, who loves scoring tries, brilliant, 8. And then Sia Kolisi, who's looking so good at 8. He was actually mentioned by Dwayne, who is looking good at 8. He actually scored the try for the Sharks. So we'll talk about that later as well. But to me, I still think that Cameron Hanekom is our guy. Jasper Wiese, obviously, sorry, you can't forget about Jasper Wiese, he's also very hardworking, tough 8. But yeah, to me, Cameron Hanekom is our guy. I don't know what your guys' feelings are.
Becky, what do you feel?
No,
Don't be biased.
No, I've got no. I don't know. I've no clue.
Cameron Hanekom wasn't playing this
No, but
weekend.
you see, this is not going to be that thing where we're gonna go head to head on this, Brenty, because
Yeah,
yes, Cameron Hanekom, I do agree. This,
very good.
but I just feel at the moment it's like Evan Roos is just edging it for me that
Yeah.
little bit, I
Yeah.
mean, it's you look at his tackles, you look at his,
Carry
it's
meters.
it's a rounded game. He plays a rounded
Yeah.
game. When you look at somebody like the guy from the Bulls, I forgot his name. now.
Cameron Hanekom.
When you look at Hanekom, he's an attacking 8. Okay,
Yeah.
but defensively,
He's not bad in defense. I think, but he's definitely an attacking 8. I think when the last time these guys played, Evan Roos was the one that put him down.
a
But
couple
yeah,
of times though.
I agree. I do agree. But obviously, I agree that Evan Roos is in impeccable form, and I think we're so privileged as South Africans to be having this argument. That none of these two are at the moment our starting 8. We've got Jasper Wiese, who is our number 1 guy for that jersey. So I think we're very privileged to be having this, and then again we're having this conversation without even mentioning Frankie Horn, who's also in brilliant form. He got put down by Ethan Hooker good this weekend though. But anyways, there's so many good options, and I think with all the fixtures that are coming up, I think all of them going to have ample opportunity to prove what their worth is. Evan Roos, I'm just reading here on my notes here. He had 2 dominant tackles. He won a turnover. It's. I won't be angry either or. Let's put it that way.
I think it's going to come down to hunger. It's going to come down
Yeah.
to hunger, and
Yeah.
I feel when we look at that, I just think that Evan Roos is taking bigger bites at the moment.
No,
I don't know. I think Evan Roos gets a little white line fever. Sometimes he
Yeah,
wants to do
yeah.
everything himself, but there's nothing that can't be fixed. There's a lot. There's a lot. Like I said, I won't be angry if he gets that jersey because he is very good and he does deserve it. He is an unbelievably physical player. But yeah, then one of the players that I sort of is not one of my favorite hookers in South African rugby. Joseph Dweber looked good. He had a brilliant run. He was very physical in this game. He's leaving the Stormers soon. I can't remember to where he's going. But yeah, he also looked very good for me.
Yeah, but it's one game, and okay, but in all fairness, I that run he had, it was like, you know, where does that pace come from? That's
You're
like
lucky forgot he's a forward.
It's like the first time ever I'm like going, yo, okay, so he's got wheels when he holds onto the ball and doesn't fuck up line-in throws, you know, no line-up throws.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe get somebody else to throw in at the
Yeah.
line-outs
I
and then
didn't
just
think
get
he
him
was
to
gonna
run.
make.
Sorry.
I didn't think he was going to make the run though. To be
Yeah,
honest.
but
I didn't think.
Yeah.
I didn't think that body and the speed that was going matched up.
Yeah, one of the players that people always argue has been snubbed for that Springbok jersey. I don't think so. I think there's so many more, so much better hookers that deserve that place.
I
But
think,
yeah,
I think yeah, he's always, you know, we're speaking about that thing. He's always like consistency. You know, he's got games where, like, you look at, I mean, this game in wet weather, you can't ask more than that from your hooker. You know, having runs like that, his lineouts were pretty good, you know, and everything. But, you know, then watch him the next game. We're lucky if he hits 1 in 7 lineouts. So it's a consistency issue with him. And it's always been, and I don't think him being snubbed or anything like that. And look, he has the potential to be fantastic. And but he makes too many mistakes, and he's too inconsistent.
Well, he's been so South Africa's got this thing. It's called Pony. It's the player of national interest, where they get a boost up on their salaries. You know, Eben Etzebeth, Siya Kolisi, Damian Willem. So those guys, you know, that's how they get all the big money. Andre Pollard. And Joseph Dweber used to get that, and as far as I know, he's been identified to not be a player of national interest anymore, and that's why he's leaving to the Exeter Chiefs. But he's been called up to the alignment game, so let's see. The next game, we have to start moving through these things, otherwise this podcast will be 2 hours long. We've got the Lions and the Sharks. My team that got smashed horribly by the Lions, and I said it last episode, that the Lions should be doing a lot better with the players they've got. That's the other way around this weekend. The Sharks should have done a lot better. Now, I know the Sharks are playing without influential players like Eben Etzebeth, Mapimpi, Apelele Fassi, Andre Streisen, but they still do have a Ethan Hooker, a Jordan Hendrickse, a Siama Suku is looking very bad. You know, and the Lions lost Quayne Horn and Henko van Wyk, probably the two best players in that backline. You know, so. Well done to the Lions. The best I've seen the Lions play in a long time, and probably the worst I've seen the Sharks play in a long time. You know, but yeah, it's Ethan Hooker. He looked good, always does. He scored a try. He did get a yellow card though. You know, but yeah, the Sharks should have done a lot better. I'm sure they're going to be hungry for a win this weekend, where you know they'll be hosting the Lions at home. But the Lions look very, very good. You know, and I always go on about how good the Lions forwards are. JC Pretorius, Ruan Venter, Frank Horn, who's been mentioned. We got set down by Ethan Hooker, like I said. But still, it's not easy being a Shark supporter, because the Shark can win games by miles, but lose games by miles. And yeah, I don't know what you guys think of that game before I start ranting and raving here.
Yeah, I'll go first. And I'm going to say it's going to be a worry for me. I feel if you look at the front row of the Sharks, which had Bongi Mbonambi and Vincent Koch present, and they were nowhere. And they are, you know, considered, you know, the key aspects of your Springbok, you know, front row. And you know, I'm going to say this, and it's no secret. I think Grant Williams is at the moment is the best number 9 that we've got in South Africa. Why are you not starting him?
He comes on he plays for 33 minutes. He only plays for 30. He made most offloads in the game, most meters made for the Sharks to 80, most defenders beaten by 3. He had a try assist, most clean breaks for the Sharks by 2, and that's only 33 minutes. He changed the whole dynamic of the game. The Sharks only scored. It was going to be 38-0 if it wasn't for Grant Williams.
And that all happened like in a matter of like, you know, 10
2
minutes.
Yeah, 2. It was like 78, but I think the first throw.
He kind of saved a lot of face.
Yeah, and if they started him, I think it would be a completely different game. I think it would be a completely different.
Yeah, Jordan Hendrickson looked good for me as well. He always does. Siama Suku looked bad. He overcooked a few of his kicks. I think maybe he's not
Well,
used to how
he
far the ball
started with the
travels.
overcooked kick. The whole match
Yes, he
started with the
did. You're right.
overcooked kick.
100%. I think the first few seconds. You're right. I don't think he's used to how far the ball travels up there. Or he didn't. I don't
But
know. Maybe
doesn't he
just.
come from the Lions, though?
I think he comes from the Free State Cheetahs.
Yeah, but it's almost the same thing. If I can throw a brick hard enough, I'll hit Bloemfontein. It's no. This I'm sorry. We've probably had that discussion a lot as well. I feel in being part of the professional era and you playing top tier rugby, that for me is a bullshit excuse. They didn't get to Joburg 7 minutes before warm up. They've
They've been there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, they've been here for a while. He had ample time to get used to the conditions and everything like that. And everybody knows the ball travels further and stuff like that. I mean, your centers were weak. Your fly-off was weak. Everything was weak. The only standout players that stood out for me at all was Grant Williams. I mean, the rest of it, Jordan Hendricks had to do a lot of work. And had to do a lot of work because your midfield was shit.
Yeah, but he needs to get back into that 10 jersey as soon as possible. No hate on Siama Suku. I'm not denying what he's done for the Sharks, but he's just a better 10 for me. In fact, I think he's one of the best 10s, and this might be controversial with the amount of international games that he's got, but I think he can be. He's got the potential to be one of the best 10s in the world. Tino Mavasera looked good.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I rate him as...
Yes.
I rate him as our future
we've
number
spoken
10.
about this before on this channel.
And it was sad for me that, it breaks a guy's morale, when he plays out of position. And, I mean, you have Edward running at you at full pace, You're not gonna catch him.
No.
And then after he scores, he does a handstand.
Or headstand.
Headstand. Yeah. So no, look, the Sharks. Look, they definitely didn't. The score could have been a lot more. So
it should have been a lot more.
Yes, they definitely did try and put some plaster on the crack in the dam wall, and they probably should have just used the Grant Williams plaster a lot earlier. And it would have probably, I think actually if Grant Williams came on or actually started like Braxton mentioned, I honestly feel that it would have probably been a lot closer and possibly would have even ended up being a win for the Sharks.
Tino Mavasera looked good for me. Most tackles, most turnovers. We just mentioned Edolf van der Merwe, who looked beautiful. He scored a try. Gianni Lombard, a few episodes ago, I said how shit he is, and he's really proving me wrong. Thanks, Gianni Lombard. He scored a try. He had a beautiful 50-22 kick in the 65th minute. Mani Ras looked good. He was man of the match. JC Pretorius looked good. SJ Kotze, I'm sure everyone has seen that little offload of him 100 times by now, all over social media.
I've got it as a screensaver at the moment.
All right, so then next up, I'm sure we're almost an hour already. Next up, we have the Sharks versus Lions preview. So we know that the Sharks and the Lions are playing each other this weekend again. The last time I said the Sharks were going to win. This time I really hope the Sharks are going to win. And I'm not as confident, but I think they can. We've seen the Sharks beaten almost all of the URC champions this season at home. They beat the Stormers, they beat Glasgow, they beat Munster. So we know how strong they can be at home. And I have a sneaky feeling that I don't have the teams by now, that Eben Etzebeth will be back by this weekend.
Yes.
And yeah, so
that'll be a match.
That'll be a match. I do think that the Sharks are going to be very, very disappointed with the loss they have, and I think they're going to pump the Lions. Or hopefully pump the Lions.
Look, I feel the Sharks should win this, and I think the Sharks are going to be hurt. And I think that it's going to be a tough day at the office, and also what the Lions also need to understand, play at Ellis Park, the crowd is primarily Lions supporters, all 7 of them that are there. And, going to the fish tank, much like going into any, local stadium, if you play the Bulls at Loftus, if you play the Lions in Ellis Park, you play the Sharks in in Kings Park
And the
whatnot.
Sharks can fill up a stadium.
You know,
They
the
really
only
can.
people, the only person team that's getting snubbed by that is the Stormers, because it seems like we still don't have a stadium, and Newlands is still a very sore point for me. But you're not gonna go to the fish tank and beat the Sharks, because I can tell you now there's gonna be at least 30 to 40,000 people there. That are probably 90% of them are going to be Shark supporters,
Yeah.
and that stadium is so compact. You know, it feels like the stadium closes in around you.
Yeah.
It's a different stadium to play in,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
I think it's hard to
yeah.
it's hard to beat the Sharks there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's not easy being a Shark supporter because they do know how to disappoint, you know. But let's hope it's not going to be one of those days.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and honestly, I don't think the Sharks are going to smash the Lions, but I do think it's going to be by at least 10 to 12 points.
But the Lions deserve that win, or they needed that win. Okay, the Sharks are on 4th position. They stayed at 4th position. And the Sharks, the Lions moved up from 12th, I think, to 9th. So they need every win if they want to make that top 8, you know.
And considering that both of them have a game in hand. So in actual fact, this game is very important, because
100%.
I mean, whoever wins this now will probably end up, if the Sharks win this and they get a bonus point, okay, they literally 2 points behind the Bulls on the log. You know, if the Lions win it and they get another bonus point, they're putting themselves, they're moving up to 5th position, you know, on level with Munster.
Yeah, and the Sharks. I mean, the Sharks are going to be very desperate to retain that top 4 position to get a home quarterfinals. And the Lions are going to be very desperate to just get in the top 8. But yeah, let's see. It's going to be a very, very, very good game. A lot on the line.
Yeah, but he's probably sad that the Bulls aren't playing this weekend. Otherwise, now he's got nothing to rage
about. But he's watching the Six Nations.
Yeah, I'm watching.
He's going to watch the Six Nations and the Sharks Lions game with us.
Yeah, the next Bulls game you need to watch with me and Bracky, because it's really entertaining. It's really entertaining. We'll do a group watch. And it's very entertaining.
It's not like the last time when I was there, Breaker. It's not like the last time then.
No, he's vocal now. But poor Willie got it every 5 minutes.
I'm sure he didn't only get it from Bracky.
No, I don't think so.
Next up is the Six Nations preview. So this is going to be a very, very good round, of Six Nations. This is probably one of the best rounds the Six Nations have so far. You know, first up we'll have the game that probably should have been the last game, or in the last round at least, which will be France versus Ireland. They're playing at the Aviva Stadium. They are playing away. So I won't go through all the teams because we are a bit stretched for time. But I'll go with seeing Romain Intermac is back after his ban. I see that France actually opened an inquiry about the fact that Gary Ringrose, one of his club games counted as a ban, whereas it wasn't the same for Intermac. Which is probably a fair point. I see France have stick with their 7-1 split. I think the last time a team played 7-1 against the Ireland, it was South Africa in the World Cup, and we all know how that ended. So we'll see. There's 3 changes to the starting 15s. Penau is back now. We all know how he likes to score tries. Thomas Ramos is moving back to 15, where he plays most of his rugby. And then obviously Intermac, that's back. Then Ireland, they went for a 6-2 split. Another play out of Rassi's book. 3 of the players in the match day 23 are actually retiring at the end of the season, which is O'Mani, Ian Healy, and Conor Murray. O'Mani was starting. There's 6 changes to the starting 15. They got Finney Beelum that gets back, the tight head prop, with Furlong still out from injury. And then the Caden Doris, the captain, returns. On the 8th, number 8. Bandi Aki moves back to 12 after his monster performance against Wales. Robbie Henshaw moves to 13 because Ringrose is still suspended. Jamie Osborne moves. He last weekend he played on 15. He moves to the wing. I couldn't see if Mac Hansen is injured, or if that that obviously was just a calculated, if he did that on purpose. And then Jürgen Keenan returns to fullback. Yeah, this is, to me, overall, this is the decider. I know England also only lost one game, but if Ireland win this game, I doubt that they'll be stopped. If France win this game and deny Ireland a bonus point, they'll have 15 points and Ireland 14. I think France are playing Scotland next at home. It could get a bit slippery, but I think France will win that. And Ireland have Italy, which they should comfortably win. If somehow France gets a win without a bonus point and Ireland gets a losing bonus point, they'll be tied, and it'll come down to points difference where France still has the advantage of 63 more points. Like I said, this is the decider to me. We'll do predictions so that it's on record and everyone can laugh at us when we're wrong. But yeah, to me, this is the decider. What is your predictions?
I think. Well, I picked Ireland for a win. I think at the Aviva Stadium, it's just gonna be too much for the French. But it's probably the most overhyped team in France, and playing against the team that complains the most. And they're both using Springbok tactics that they complained about the Springboks using. So for me, it's probably the two teams with the worst mentality that's going head to head. I hope the French smash Ireland to kind of avoid them from just easily winning the three-peat. But for me, honestly, for me, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. It's another game for me that James Lowe's closer to retirement. So
yeah,
that's what I'm focusing on.
Bracky, your prediction?
I think France, to be honest. I think France going to take this one for the win, no?
Yeah. Just
because of literally one player, and that is Dupont. I remember watching him here
Italy
so long ago. I can't remember. It was long ago, dude. I was living in Pretoria at the time. And I remember we were waiting for a game, and one of these games came on. And I asked my father, who is that guy? Because every time you would look at the screen, it was just Anthony Dupont. I remember.
That hasn't changed. They still do that.
So yeah, I actually think France is going to take this one, because if you look at Ireland, they have a good set of players. The ones that I actually know, Joe McCarthy, Josh van der Vliet.
Arrogant.
Remember him?
The South African, Josh van der Vliet.
James Lowe, yeah.
He's not really South African. That's
James Lowe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about James Lowe because I was reprimanded by
I've asked Timo very nicely, please just give this guy some slack. To me as well, I agree. I agree. I think France are going to win it. Now, it's a bit controversial, I'll tell you why. France did lose against England. They looked very well against Italy and Wales, but let's be honest, it's Italy, and that at the times Wales were looking very bad. But I still see France pulling it out, or pulling it through. We know that Ireland can be France's kryptonite. Ireland have beaten France. I'll get the stats. I don't know exactly how much, but Ireland like to beat France. They beat them often, and I think that. But I do think France will still win this. I don't think it'll be with much, and I think it's going to be a beautiful game to watch. But we got matchups like Jameson Gibson Park against Dupont. Definitely the two best nines. In the Six Nations. I think Jameson Gibson Park doesn't get the praise he deserves. He's had, I think, 2 player of the match games this Six Nations already. He's just very, very good.
Yeah, but he won't get it. He won't get it because everybody's talking about Anton Dupont that's doing exactly the same thing that 950 million number 9s have done throughout history. I'm so sick and tired of this shit with Anton Dupont and James Lowe, really.
Then we've got matchup like Sam Prendergast, who I think is one of the most overhyped players in the competition, against Intermac. Hugo Kenyan, who everyone says is the best 15 in the world, against Ramos. So there's a lot of good matchups. 7-1 split might bite France in the ass, because France only has Jason Statham, Maxime Luku, who is going to be the only back in the on coming off the bench. So let's see. I think France will do this. I honestly do. I think we've said it for a while. Ireland are a deteriorating team, and they've proved us wrong. But I still believe that. They are an old team and a team that are on a downward slope, in my opinion. And I think that France just have those exciting backline and those monstrous forwards. So let's see.
Yeah, and then putting that on a 7-1 split, which means they're replacing the whole scrum. Halfway through the game. I didn't think about that in the general sense. For me, I can tell you one thing: France is definitely going to focus to bash it up front. There's not going to be any flair and anything like that.
They've got Cyril Bale, 100% sure I said that wrong, who's coming off the bench. We know how good he is. Toulouse said he scored 2 tries against South Africa in the quarterfinals.
See, they're even copying that. We don't have a Cyril Bale, but we do have a Cyril Ramaphosa. But he doesn't come off the bench.
Then we've got Scotland versus Wales, which is the next game. So 2 weeks ago, this would have been a shit game.
Yes.
But I think this weekend, this is going to be, and we're going to go into predictions now. Scotland only made one change to the starting 15, and that's Darcy Graham that came back. They went for a 5-3 split. Wales had no changes to the starting 15. But Dewey Lake, we spoke about Dewey Lake. He was injured. He was going to be Wales captain for a while. He's very, very good hooker. He's coming off the bench. And then obviously Ellis Me, who looked so good against Ireland, retains his 11 jersey. Predictions?
Well, I hope Wales win. Okay, I really do. Because the last time we saw Wales playing after the whole, Gatland exit, and thanks Wales Rugby Union for listening to Spear Tackle Rugby podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Because it was time, he was destroying rugby in Wales. But Wales started looking like a team that are just enjoying being on the field, and that's something that they lost. Although they lost the match, okay, losing to Ireland by 9 points. You're talking the second-ranked team in the world. You're not even in the top 10 anymore. Going and losing to Ireland with 9 points, considering
with so many young players.
Yes, and you basically kept the lead probably for about 70 minutes. I think Wales should just stick to that. Just put it out there, go big, and just have fun. Just get the enjoyment back in your rugby culture. But having said that, I do think my prediction is Scotland with 11.
Look, no one expects Wales to win. I mean, your coach is fucked off halfway through the season. Okay, you've got a lot of new players. Your current coach was coaching Cardiff a few weeks ago. I think Wales are going to win them. Beat them. I honestly think Wales are going to do it. Wales look good against Ireland. And if they can win this game, I think that's a successful Six Nations to them. Obviously, there's no hopes of them winning it. It's impossible. But they were competing for the wooden spoon not too long ago. So by beating Scotland, I feel like it's a success for them. It's a big platform for them to build on. So I'm gonna go Wales, and I might be wrong, and then everyone can laugh at me and clip this, and
I'm gonna be laughing at you.
Bracky, your prediction?
I know it's a very hard prediction to make. If you're talking about who deserves the win, I think Wales, because they've had a very hard time. But I want to go for Wales, but it's going to be for pity points. It's not going to be my honest prediction.
So what's honest?
We want you honest. Think with your brain, not with your heart.
Who they playing against again? Ireland.
The Scottish.
No, Scotland versus Wales.
Scotland. Yeah. Scotland. Oh, unfortunately,
Scotland.
Wales would just be a purely out of pity because I think they really deserve to win. I know that they, well, no, well, not know. I've read that they have been struggling for a while.
Very long, very
Um,
long.
And I
Yeah.
read about the coach thing as well. That was quite hectic. And I don't think they. I think the thing that's going to break them down is going to be their team chemistry
Yeah.
with the different coaches and the different guys coming in, new guys coming in, fresh blood. They don't yet know exactly how how each one plays together, who plays well together. So I think that's going to be their downfall for this one, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Then
good
we've got
points. Good points.
England versus Italy, which is probably going to be one of the boring games. They're playing in Twickenham. They made 3 changes to the starting 15. We'll go over some of those controversial ones. Jamie George makes a return to the starting 15 with his 100th cap. I like Jamie George. I really do. Henry Slates get replaced by Dingwall at inside centre. Elliot Daly gets the nod at 15, and Marcus Smith gets dropped to the bench. So I know what we don't have the Italy team as yet. I don't know why they posting it so late. I know what Steve Borthwick is trying to do. He's trying to have Marcus Smith come off the bench to be sort of that impact player. And it's really sad to me that Marcus Smith, sorry, who I still think is the best in the Six Nations. Definitely one of the best teams that England has. Tom Curry obviously putting his hand up. I still think that he is the best. I'm not saying that Finn Smith is brilliant. They're very blessed with the two fly-offs that they've got. I think it's sad that Marcus Smith is so good and he has to play off the bench and does. I know the bench doesn't really make a difference to us in as a Springbok team because our bench are actually that impact players. But I don't know.
But we won't know what it is and is, and sometimes we look at decisions that Rassi's made in the past. We've all gone like 7-1 split. When that started, we all went like
Yeah.
And at that stage, I think I might be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I do believe that the first 7-1 split we had, Damian Willems was the only backline player that came off the bench.
Yeah, 100%.
And you look at that, there's no reason to play your first year team. It's Italy, and probably Italy's team you mentioned, we don't have Italy's team yet. They're probably still waiting for boss approval, from the Vatican or the mafia or whatever to release the team. But I don't think that England should, they're not. Yes, they do stand a chance to win it, but I think they've kind of made peace with that, And Elliot Daly is a solid fullback, though. It's still a good choice there. So they're obviously not going to go and play attacking rugby. That's their route with Marcus Smith. I think they're going to focus on just getting the job done, getting the victory, probably getting the 5 points, putting them in the best position, and hoping that France just annihilate Ireland. I think that's the mindset of that now.
Italy can be sticky though, so hopefully they're not making a mistake there. But predictions, I'm saying England by 20.
My prediction on that was England by 13.
Raki?
This one I really have no idea. I don't know.
He's going to say England by 10 then.
Okay. Here we go.
So next up we're starting something new. We'll end off with this. It's a bit of rugby news. So we're going to play a little clip that I've worked very hard on, and then read out some news.
So whenever whoever goes into, ever makes a comment, whoever likes and subscribes and whatever, please just have a look at the clip. It should be roughly around about 55 minutes. It starts looking, from about 53 minutes. There's going to be a clip that Brenty really worked hard on. He really did, and I've been having to hear about this clip, and now it's going to be the first time that I see it live when this video goes up. Okay, so just give him some credit for the clip. He's really worked hard on it. I think it's really a fantastic job that he's doing. And everybody also, just before we go into that, there's a lot of work that goes into this. So please do like, do subscribe, do make some comments, even if you don't like us. We honestly don't give a shit. But put some comments in, be controversial, give advice if you want to,
Yeah.
and if you feel we're
We're new to
bashing,
this. Yeah, we're
if you
doing
feel
this
we're
for fun.
bashing the wrong players like Antoine Dupont and James Lowe and stuff like that, give us new players to bash. I'm quite happy to bash anybody in the European Rugby leagues.
Correction.
Don't forget
Correct.
about Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, correction. If you feel like Timo is bashing too much on. All right,
Okay.
let's go for it. Okay, so that was it. Overall for nothing. Our first, our first topic will be Kitsy retires. So we know that a lot of these topics are probably 2, 3, 4 days old, but we only record twice a week, and we still believe it's something that's valid or something to talk about. Kitsy retires. What a legend to the game. He's obviously had that massive neck injury. I actually think he picked that up during a Curry Cup game. I could be wrong. But yeah, Kitsy retires. What a legend. Definitely will be missed. Yeah, go well.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Like you say, legend of the game. Curry powder, cherry plum, spicy plum. Is that
Spicy plum.
Yeah, so many nicknames. And obviously coming from your valley, being a ginger. No, it's going to be sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Probably in the modern era of rugby, probably the best loose set prop. That's probably graced any rugby field.
Yeah.
Any team that's had him hasn't had anything, but 150% from him all the time. So
Yeah.
it is sad. All the best, he's got a lot of things in the pipeline though.
Yeah.
And we'll probably still see him in rugby in the future, potentially as a scrum coach.
Yeah, some of them, 100%.
So I don't think we've seen the last of him. I think we'll see that really, gracing, a
Somewhere.
coaching box or, at some point, probably if Rassie hasn't already spoken to him, to join the Springbok ranks at some stage, to help out with something there.
Yeah. I look like Dwayne, yeah. Next one, this one excites me a lot, and this should excite you a lot, Bracky. Is Andre Pollard coming back? So I don't know where they got the money, but they afforded him, and he's going to be back in the Bulls setup from the next season. And we spoke about it during our Bullstormers review, and they desperately are needing a fly-off, and who better than probably the best fly-off in the world?
Yeah, yes. Paulie is just a legend. He will forever remain a legend in my book. So
Yeah.
Mr. Cool Comment collected, having just looking at the World Cup, okay, the composure that he brings, having to slot a 55-meter penalty to put us ahead against England,
Yeah.
and he's going back, I know he played his junior rugby at Western Province and stuff like that. But he's always a bull at heart, and I'm jealous that he's going back to the Bulls. But it's going to be so good to see him in URC. It's going to be 100%. So good to just have that number 10 jersey.
Yeah.
Even though it's at the Bulls, but what a talent! Though, what a talent!
What a talent!
The old blood and the old passion coming back to the team, I think, is gonna make it have a great effect on the entire team. I think.
And he's not, he's not that old. I think he's 31 years old. 30 or 31. So yeah, lacquer. And I mean, if you look at that backline now you've got Willie Leroux, controversial, I like him, fullback. You've got Arendse, who's on loan at the moment in Japan, but he's coming back. You got Stedman Gans, a David Creel on your centre pairing. You've got a Kane Moody.
Sebastian de Klerk. You've got
Sebastian de Klerk, Kane Moody. You've got Andre Pollard. And then Emrose Papier. I think that's a dangerous backline.
And considering, Emrose and Andre, they've got a lot of experience together. They've also played a lot of games together. So in the bigger picture of rugby, it's almost like he's just slotting into a team that he's been gone, but he's not been gone. because he's probably played with a lot of the players. You know, considering you mentioned it's Kane Moody, it's Kurtley Arons, it's Willie Leroux. You know, those are people that he plays with on a regular basis. In any case, you know, you're almost sitting with the same thing where. The Sharks almost have the whole South African scrum, you know, the whole Springbok scrum. Now you've got, you know, the Bulls having a whole Springbok backline, and then you've got a guy that doesn't fucking miss. So,
with a pack of forwards that are just unstoppable.
Yes, definitely.
So the next one,
you don't have to rage much longer, you know.
Yeah,
like they said in Game of Thrones, winter is coming. In your case, Polly is coming, boy. Polly is coming.
The next one, Ntuthukumkunu moving to the Stormers. Now, I like Ntuthukumkunu. He's a piece of a player. He needs to work on his scrummaging, but I feel like he hasn't unlocked that next level. I think that we're going to see him in a Springbok setup a lot more in the future, and I think that with the Stormers, he's going to be able to do that. And why I'm saying this is, I know I'm a Shark, but the Sharks don't always bring the best out of a player. Okay, Andre Esterhuizen has been looking very good for the Sharks, but if you look at players like Carlos Sardi, who was, you know, probably not that highly rated as a Shark. He went to the Bordeaux Beagles, and now the Bulls are fighting for him. You know, so the Bulls with the most dominant forward pack in all of the whole URC are asking for you. Must know that there's something, you know, that they see in you. You know, I think he's gonna look a lot better in a Stormers jersey than he's going to look in than he looked in a Sharks jersey, and I think that the Stormers are going to help him really unlock that next stage of his game.
Well, honestly, I actually hope so. For me, it's a bit of a controversial buy for me. I don't see why and how you get to the logic behind that. I don't see what's the point of getting a prop. But then again, we're also losing Brock Harris. He's retiring, so probably, you know, replacement, you know, regarding that.
Look into the future.
He seems to be, you know, to be a prop that likes to attack the game line.
Yeah.
And I think with the style of Stormers rugby, like you mentioned, I think it would probably be a better fit for him. And you know, looking back at recent years, Stormers producing props that's Springbok quality.
Frans
You're looking at
Malherbe.
Frans Malherbe, you're looking at Kitsy, you know, so definitely an opportunity for him. Whether he takes it, that I can't tell you. I hope he does, because we've really you mentioned it's hard to be a Shark supporter. You know, try screaming for the team that likes to just kind of lose.
Recently.
Yes, unless they're playing in a swimming pool apparently. So maybe what they should just do is, you know, put on the sprinklers 20 minutes before the match, just flood the field every time the Stormers are playing, and we'll probably win every match. So I don't know. I suppose based on that, I would have probably chased a different prop. In my opinion, I would have probably looked at somebody like Nhlabakanye. You know, so I don't know. We'll have to see. Time will tell. I feel it's a controversial buy, and in my opinion on John Dobson is pretty much the same opinion that I had on the Wales coach and James Lowe and Anton Dupont and stuff. You know. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. I've got hope. You know, he doesn't seem to be a bad player. He's scrummaging. He looks solid. So let's see. Next season will tell.
Next one. This one I'm very, very excited for, and that's the All Blacks 2026 SA Tour. It's the first time that the All Blacks will play the Springboks more than 3 times in 30 years, I think. So we know that this is rugby's greatest rivalry, and no one can argue with that. You know, it's facts of the game. You know, them with 3 World Cups, us with 4 World Cups, them with 90% of the rugby championships, and us with probably the other 10. You know, so I'm very excited for this tour. So it's going to be a shortened rugby championship. You know, which I'm all for if that means we're going to get more All Blacks Springboks games. It's going to be 8 games over 2 months, so they're going to be here for a while. It's going to be 3 games against the Springboks, 4 games against our franchise teams, and 1 game against our SA8 team. So basically 4 games against the Springboks, because we know our SA and the Springboks. How do you differentiate? Because of how many players we've got. So I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. It's going to give a lot of these young players, in our franchises, some experience against, obviously a world dominating team. There will be an additional game as well, at a neutral venue. Apparently, it's most likely going to be somewhere in England or America. It should probably be America, because England is our home away of home. Or Twickenham. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about this.
Well, look, as far as I know, the last time that they did tour was somewhere in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. It was, I think it was also them preparing for either the 87 or the 91 World Cup that they did that. And we just spoke, a little while ago, off the recording. You look back at that stage, and again, greatest rivalry, definitely, without a doubt. It's 2 teams that's probably been consistently ranked in the top 5, just going at each other. It's 2 teams that have immense respect for each other. And then, having said that, there's the whole thing with the World Cup. We beat them in the finals. So this year it's already going to be 2 tough games if facing them away.
Yeah.
But then looking at 2026, I think it's going to be immense. I think it's going to really be fantastic to watch. The last time that happened, as I mentioned, you had players like Nos Botha on fly off. You had Dani Gerber, who was just mental. You had Jaco Reinach, Kobus Reinach's father, that was on wing. And it was brutal. I feel a Springbok team that could have probably, won the World Cup in 87 and probably won the World Cup in 91 as well. So having said that, I know that's going to be controversial, but if we were allowed to partake in the World Cup in 87 and 91, we would have probably been sitting on 6 World Cups right now.
So obviously, the reason this is the greatest rivalry of all time is because the all-time debate comes of who's the greatest of all time. So I think definitely these 2 teams are the 2 best rugby teams in of all time. And you can say Ireland or whatever. We're not talking about current form. We're talking about out of all the times that they've played each other. So to me, if you're going to judge that going by World Cups, which a lot of people there, obviously South Africa, edges that one with very, very, very closely, because that final could have gone either way. If you take it on win percentages, which in my opinion you probably should, and as South African I'll probably get shot for saying this, it's the All Blacks. The All Blacks have there's no team in world rugby or in the world that has beaten the All Blacks more than they've beaten them. I don't know if that came out correctly.
Yeah.
And the same way for the South Africans, the Springboks. There's only one team that has beaten us more than we've beaten them, and that's the All Blacks. We've played Ireland a total of 30 times. We've beaten them 19 times. It was a draw, and then they've beaten us 10 times. And 5 of those 10 times have been very, very recently. So we're talking about current form. South Africa is the best team in the world currently. I think Rassie Erasmus is a genius. He doesn't always get the props that he deserves outside of South Africa, but he is a genius. Just the whole, and we're going to get to it now. The 15 fixtures, all of that is just planning ahead and sort of making sure that we retain that best in the world. Position. So I think currently, obviously, the All Blacks are not where they used to be, and the Springboks are currently the best in the world. But of all time, you can't deny until South Africa has beaten the All Blacks more than the All Blacks have beaten South Africa. You cannot say that the All Blacks are not the best of all time.
I agree. That's gonna take years, though. I mean, I quickly pulled up the stats first. They've played 108 times. Okay. Yeah. They've surpassed a century of these 2 teams just playing each other. Okay. Their first game was in 1921, which New Zealand won 13-5. So it was it's even a rivalry that's older than 100 years.
Yeah.
New Zealand have won 62 of those. South Africa have
Yeah.
won 42.
Yeah.
There were four draws, okay, in total, and the points margin as well. New Zealand are definitely looking at it. 2,235 points for New Zealand over the 108 matches versus the 1,789 of South Africa. But here's where the stats get interesting. When we look at neutral venues, okay, which there's only been 8 matches played, and it's going 4-4 at the moment, 4-1 each way. We edge them at 1 point. We've scored 1 point more than them. When it comes to in South Africa, and again, South Africa has had their problems. We had all the shit with Rudolf Stroili and watching the naked rugby players in the dam and stuff. And I'm sure I was watching the Lions rugby players, and I was watching the Lions rugby players naked in the dam and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure he really wanted to play at Loftus on Saturday. But looking at it in that sense, there we're not that far behind. I think it's 40 points that they edge us. But when it comes to playing in New Zealand, we're almost 400 points behind. So obviously South Africa has a big problem playing New Zealand in New Zealand. But when it comes to playing in South Africa, when it comes to playing neutral venues, that's going to be big. And considering this whole competition is going to be in South Africa in 2026, I really think it's great for the game.
It's going to be
if they're going to do a neutral venue, I definitely agree with you 100%. Do it in America. They've got the 2031 World Cup. Coming up in America.
What a better way to amp them up.
The brand needs to be promoted there. The brand needs to go and promote there. I even feel that some of the matches in the URC, I feel that some of those matches can be played as a neutral thing. And I would have probably gone and said, you know what, take the semi-finals and the finals of the URC and showcase it in America, one of the bigger competitions in the world. Maybe take a super rugby situation, take it when they get to the semi-finals and the finals, play it in the States, show these people what rugby really looks like, how immense the game can be, and how beautiful the game can be, and grow that culture, and then work from there.
100%. The next one I've got here is South Africa playing 15 fixtures in 2025. So one game against the Barbarians. So our first game is going to be against the Barbarians on 28th of June. Now, we obviously don't know what the Barbarians are going to look like and where it's going to be. And then we've got the Springboks versus Italy at Loftus. So it's a lot of games to go through, a lot of good games. We've spoken about it before, about us playing Ireland away, us playing France away, and us playing New Zealand away. This is going to be another good year, or another interesting year for the Springboks. I think all of this is only for us. He's got a main squad. We've seen how many players he's called up. It's almost impossible to sort of pinpoint who's our starting player in most positions, which is very good. That's a depth that we're building, and I'm sure no one can argue with me that we've got more depth than any other team in the world at the moment. So and the only way,
considering how many players we've actually got contracted in rugby, it should be that way. Look, the thing is, I'm looking at this season, and if I was a coach and if I was in Russ's position, I'm looking at the season and 15 matches, we're playing, almost most of the teams we're playing, except for Georgia, are in the top 10.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy season,
No, it's not.
We're playing the All Blacks away twice. Where one of them I just wanted to mention is Eden Park. We don't have the best record at Eden Park, and I'm sure
no one
the
does.
Previous stat, that 400 points I just mentioned, a lot of them was probably at Eden Park. But I think you look at the first 3 matches, you've got Italy twice and you've got Georgia. Okay, it's not the strongest opposition. You're playing them at home. It's a good time to develop. It's a good time to say, okay, let's look at combinations. Okay, then you're playing Australia,
coming off of a British and Irish Lions store.
Yes, so they're either going to be very hot or they're going to be suffering injuries. Okay, because the British and Irish Lions tours, I'm not sure if any one of you has ever seen one.
2021, I watched South Africa versus
Yes,
British.
it's a different
Yeah,
it's a different tour that
yeah,
it's all about physicality, and it's about pride,
yeah,
so the Australia game should be easy wins for us, in my
yeah,
opinion, not dissing Australians. 2 games in New Zealand is going to be hard, and you need your top players there, so that's going to be
100%.
that's where we're going to probably see the cream of the crop again playing there. Then September, Argentina, Kings Park, easy win for us. The usual venue there at Twickenham. The big problem there is it's our home away from home, but a lot of the Argentinians are also playing in Europe, so they're also very used to the conditions. They're very used to everything. That's going to be hard. I'm looking at November versus France. That's going to be a good one, because now that will be the first time that we really meet.
Revenge. Yeah.
And let's hope. We just so thump on the pond. Where what a real number 9 looks like when Grant William pitches up. Then we're playing Italy again. I don't see a lot of problems with that.
Sorry,
Yeah, and then we're playing Ireland. And let's hope by that time James Lowe has decided to retire.
Please.
So then I've got another wing to bash, right? So then no, but so we've got South Africa's got a hard year. It's a hard year. Although we've got a lot of games that we can develop on, considering the Italy thing, considering the Georgia thing, we're playing Italy 3 times in 1 year.
Yeah.
We've got Georgia, not known for their strength and stuff like that. So, I think it's a good time to really go and say, give guys like Wilco Lowe a run. Give guys that you're potentially planning to use in the future a solid 60-minute run. You can see what you get out of them, and stack your bench. Put it on your bench, have a Colby on your bench, have a Valley on your bench. Get your experienced players on the bench that can come off and say, okay, guys, listen, the wheels have fallen off. We need to let's refocus the situation and get back into the game. At the moment, South Africa is on a mental high. And it's very hard to be a South African rugby player, I think, because as supporters, you've kind of spoiled us now and put us in a position where we don't know what a losing Springbok side looks like. So going back, if we start losing matches, it's going to be brutal on the mentality of the Springbok squad. And so let's hope that Rassie is a genius, like you say, and I think this is going to be such a good year. The only real games that I'm truly worrying about is the 2 games against New Zealand. In New Zealand, they've also got a bone to pick with us. You mentioned the rivalry. They obviously want to come to us in 2026, coming to South Africa, having won 2 back-to-back games against us the previous year. And it's all about bragging rights, but I've got a lot of respect for All Black rugby. And I mean, like, Aaron Smith retiring was devastating news for me. I remember we were watching the final together back then in the World Cup, when it was announced that he's retiring after that and stuff. And in general, a lot of respect for it, except like when Justin Marshall says stupid shit like he did the other day. I've got a lot of respect for the New Zealand rugby, and it's always a fantastic game to watch when they play the Springboks, especially when they play the Springboks.
Yeah, well, I think we have to probably end it off now.
But we still have some news there, I think.
Yeah, I think before we get there, I think the reason Rassie is doing this, obviously, the reason he's doing this, he's got a lot of players to blood, a lot of caps he wants to get. You've got players that, like we mentioned before, John Hendricks has only got 1 or 2 caps. So by the time he plays the next World Cup, he can have 20, with all these games. So he's trying to get as much game time for all these new players, so he can for certain say who is the team that he's going to take to the World Cup next time, and this is the team that can win us a three-peat.
No, if you look at it from that perspective, right? It's a guy like Quayne Horn would get some run time. You're looking at the different wingers. I would love to see a Sebastian de Klerk probably play in one of the 3 matches. I rate him highly. Even though he's a bull, I would love to see him at the Stormers as well. but you know, I rate him highly. You've got Ambrose Papier that I would probably give a run. You know, who's not as qualified or as capped. Sorry, not as qualified as capped. You know, so there's so many options. There's so many options that you can use. You know, get Jordan. You know, going into a New Zealand game potentially later on in the year, having, you know, maybe 4 or 5 caps more. It's going to be immense for his confidence, you know. So we'll see. I think Russie's always got a plan, and every time we start doubting Russie, he goes to a 7-1 split, or you know, he plays Kulisi on fly off, or you know, he's gonna do something to surprise us. Okay, but that's my 5 cents on that.
Yeah, and then the next one, Bracky.
Oh, Bracky.
You know, the next one is literally just I just read it this morning while I was trying to get ready for this podcast. So over on IOL, I don't know if you guys do the website. It's iol.co.za. Celebrity News, the one that I got the notification on. Rachel Khaleesi steps down as CEO of Khaleesi Foundation. It's not, she hasn't released, or the company hasn't officially announced anything regarding a resignation or why or nothing, but the organization or the Justice Desk expressed their sentiments over Twitter, I think, or X. Yeah, saying that they wish her well and gave her thanks for everything that she did and stuff. So I wonder, going back to the Lions and the Sharks match, I wonder if some of this didn't maybe have an impact in that game due to Khaleesi having a lot on the brain, huh?
Yeah, I think my opinion on this, and I really need to choose my words carefully. She's nothing if she wasn't married to Khaleesi.
Oh fuck.
You know, I'm saying it without disrespect to her. I really think what she's trying to do and what she stands for and stuff is immensely honorable. But in all fairness, if it wasn't for the Khaleesi Foundation, if it wasn't for all the stuff, and I'm not saying this because of any other reason than that, a lot of the stuff was started because of the popularity that her husband achieved and the power couple that they became because of the stuff that her husband achieved, you know. If she was a random Twitter person or a random, you know, TikTok person or whatever, she would have been in the same league as any other auntie from Brockpan or wherever, showing people how to buy cakes. And what I feel that is it's become a bit of a hype situation now, you know. It's for me, it's on the same caliber as watching a Kardashian, you know, live TV shit. Move away from it now. We need our Springbok captain to focus on his rugby now. So step away from everything, go away, go make TikToks down in Khan's Bay or something, and leave the rest of the stuff. We don't care about that, you know.
No. The only reason I brought it up was mainly the fact that I think that this has played a very big role in how he has been performing as of late, and
definitely.
This sudden, I wouldn't say resignation because there's been no official word of that, but this stepping down as CEO of Khaleesi Foundation, I think really had a toll on him and had a toll on his family. So yeah, I just hope that he can recover, if I can say it like that. We don't know why they split up and stuff, but I just hope that he can cope enough to be the Khaleesi that we know and love.
Well, he's friends with earbuds, so he doesn't really have a choice to recover from it. Because I think that guy doesn't let you sit along with bad shit in your head. I think Eben will you know, get him to pull his socks back up and whatnot.
Well,
so
if we weren't cancelled before, we definitely get cancelled now.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what is the thing? People need to look at it. I'm not saying it because of any other reason than the fact that I think this whole situation with the whole Khaleesi breakup and everything has gone ahead. I do feel strongly for what she stands for, and I agree with what she stands for. I just don't think she would have been as successful in that you know, direction if it wasn't for the Khaleesi Foundation, and if it wasn't
I think she's also you know, helped him a lot to sort of keep him in a state of narrative. You watch the Sia Khaleesi documentary. I like Rachel Khaleesi. I like Sia Khaleesi a lot as well. You know, he's my captain. I've got a massive picture, and one day when we have cameras on our faces, you can see it in the back of me. A massive painting of Sia Khaleesi in the back of my room. I think I honestly think he's the best captain South Africa has ever had. I disagree a bit with you, Bracky, in performance. I think Sia Khaleesi's actually been not looking that bad. He's had a few bad games, like every good player has. I did rage quit the last few minutes of the Sharks and the Lions game, so I didn't catch Sia Khaleesi's try, so I can't really comment on his performance. But yeah, I think you know, Rage Khaleesi, you know, do what's good for you, and Sia Khaleesi, you know, get back on that bandwagon. Okay, let's end it with that.
What I say is wrong. What I say is
Yeah,
wrong.
what you
Okay.
say is wrong. Very, very wrong.
All right, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for all the support we've been receiving, and all the messages of love and support with my strong opinions and stuff. And then we'll see you again on Monday. So everybody, be safe. Have a good weekend of rugby. And yeah, guys, see you on Monday.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks, Bracky, for joining us.
Yes.
Pleasure. Have a good night.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.